My name's Doug. Really excited to be here today. I'm a project manager with Habitat for Humanity, Greater San Francisco. I love this topic and I've learned stuff already. So yay, this is great. Personally, I've been in the affordable housing field for about 14 years and have pretty extensive experience with preservation work and new construction. I'm also an active member in the sustainability movement here locally and sit on the USGBC of Northern California's Rising Leaders Committee. I'm going to start today with a really quick primer about Habitat and what we do. Our organization works with families in Marin, San Francisco, and San Mateo County. We build and sell new homes to low-income families. We preserve homes with very low-income homeowners, and we partner with local organizations to help build community by completing service projects. The photo on the left is a new construction project underway in downtown Redwood City on Jefferson Avenue. It's a 6-story, 20-unit podium project, and we're really excited to be finishing that later in the year. The photo in the middle, I think, is a really great example of what a group of volunteers can do in a backyard during a home repair. And then the photo on the right is a recent volunteer work day with our great partners at the Casada Gardens Initiative in Bayview Hunters Point. When I talk about Habitat, I really try to convey that we're a pretty complex and technical organization. We are a nonprofit developer, we're a home builder, we're a licensed general contractor. We're also a mortgage provider. We are the bank when we sell our homes, and we are an educational provider to qualified buyers. Lastly, we are also a member of Habitat California, where we are able to advocate at the local, state, and national level for policies that will support our home building and preservation work. Now I want to get a little deeper into our repairs program here at Habitat and look at what we do here with critical home repairs. Our program is about 13 years old and it has generally evolved over time. Today, we are providing targeted, meaningful, and critical renovation work for low-income homeowners. The work generally falls into one of these buckets on your screen. The work we see that needs to be done is often deferred maintenance or something needed as an owner ages in their home. From this list, you'll see that a lot of the work we do focuses on water intrusion and exterior improvements. And we also try to focus pretty strongly on the long-term health and safety of the owner. Our end goal with our work is that the owner can be healthy, happy, and in their home for a long time. We're trying to improve quality of life and prevent displacement with our work. We have some amazing partner families that really inspire our entire team here at Habitat. This is a photo of Patricia. Patricia is a homeowner Habitat worked with in Bayview Hunters Point. Born and raised in San Francisco, Patricia worked for the city of San Francisco for about 25 years. But after going on disability, she was unable to maintain her house on a fixed income. As the only homeowner in her family, she'd always hoped to pass the home down to her grandchildren. Over the years, her home had provided many things to the community: a place for neighbors to organize donations for local homeless shelters, a stable environment to raise her grandchildren, and even a place of refuge and support for those in need in the community. After finding a Habitat postcard in her mailbox, Patricia reached out to our team. Habitat was able to partner with her and make some extensive repairs to her stairs, doors, and the outside of her home. We built a fence, repainted the home's exterior, and with the home revived to a safe condition, Patricia was again able to refocus her energy on raising her grandkids and keeping up her home so she could pass it on to them. I think this story really helps explain our program and the really valuable work we're able to do. We do targeted outreach in neighborhoods and at community events and through mailers, which is how Patricia found us. We also love word of mouth referrals in communities we work in. We accept and review applications, confirming applicants meet income and home ownership requirements. Habitat then works together with the owner to develop a scope of work, which will depend a lot on funding, what the homeowner wants, and the condition of the home. We do much of the work ourselves with Habitat staff and volunteers, but also hire subcontractors as needed. Finally, the homeowners in the program do repay Habitat. This is something that has changed quite a bit over time at the company, but currently homeowners are expected to repay a percentage of the material costs for the work, and that amount and the terms of that repayment will be based on the client's ability to repay. I want to talk some numbers today. I think we have some great numbers that help convey how great our program is. Since 2008, we've done 206 projects, mostly in East Palo Alto and the Bayview Hunters Point neighborhoods. We've also done a handful in Menlo Park. Of these projects, the average income of the household has been $38,000. And this equates to about 40% or very low income of the average median income at the time the project was completed. And a total of 92% of the clients we have partnered with identify as BIPOC. Looking at all the homes we've worked in since 2008, the average year built of the home is 1946. And I made a typo on my notes. That means 75 years old is the average home we work in, or more. These partner families have typically owned the homes for a very long time, for an average of 41 years, which highlights how these families are often long-standing members of their communities. And a great piece of data for today, looking at all the products we have done in San Mateo County, 84% of those have had some kind of work focusing on energy efficiency, which I think is really relevant for today's conversation. One final data point is cost. So far, we've kept that cost very low. Since 2018, the average cost of a single home repair has been just over $5,000. That price tag includes the cost of materials and labor, so hired people and things we buy. And this does really represent some of the value add we can bring into neighborhoods through volunteer labor and donated materials. One caveat here is this does not include Habitat staff and overhead cost. And there's a lot of reasons over time we haven't tracked that number super consistently for the program. If we were to add in staff and overhead, a rough estimate might be to double that number to about $10,000 per project. And that's since 2018. So that's kind of a deep dive into the program that we have. Now I'm going to talk a little bit about how we can pair those home repairs with some of the work we're talking about today with decarbonization and electrification. This is part of our goal in the next 7 years. We have some really aggressive goals to expand and grow our program. We're looking to double our production and really expand the size, scope, and cost of our projects. We have secured new funding sources. We have a renewed source from San Mateo County. Shout out to you if you're here today. And we've been awarded funding from Menlo Park recently. Again, shout out to Menlo Park to complete 30 repairs in the Bellhaven community. We've also received some state support from the Cal Home program. And as a note, if you're on this call from another city, we'd love to partner with you in the future. We think this work is really meaningful. I do want to highlight this last bullet point. We are starting to really talk about and consider how our entire construction portfolio considers the effects of climate change. This means electrification, this topic today, but it also means considering longer and hotter summers, poor air quality from wildfire smoke, and in some neighborhoods, sea level rise or the risk of long-term floods. So let's take a minute and talk through a hypothetical scope of work and how decarb might fit. The first thing we do is we get a list of items that the homeowner thinks they need in a home. I'll say this is a fairly typical list of something for an older home. You'll notice that electrification won't show up on that first list. We don't anticipate that happening in the near future, right? These are critical home repairs. Step 2 will be that we will go into the home and we'll review the homeowner's list and do a home assessment. At this point, we typically start crossing things off the list. We don't do kitchen and bath renovations at this point. And we also add things that need to be done that we find. In this example, we find some mold remediation that needs to take place and a water heater with poor venting. And we also always find a long list of big ticket items like new roofs, a better heating system, new windows, etc. At the end, we work to merge these two lists and come to an agreement with the owner, which they'll sign. This final scope is often dictated by funding and what we can afford to do. We always have to triage here and select the most beneficial task with the best cost to impact ratio. Now, if you look at this list, it will not be hard for us to add decarbonization to the list from a technical standpoint. This is something we can do, but we have to look at how we can make this work more viable for our partner families. There's been a lot of topic and questions in the box already about the electrical system. I will take a step back here and say, as an affordable housing developer, knowing the types of homes that we work in, our assumption is before we can get the top two photos, heat pump HVAC and heat pump water heater, we will need to do a full service upgrade of the electrical service. In a 75-year-old home, we are just expecting that, and we think it should be scoped in for the long-term safety and viability of the homeowner. This is very doable. It's done every day, but it is costly and time-consuming and will be considered very cumbersome and intrusive, perhaps, by the homeowner. So this is something we need to consider. Taking into account this kind of complex work, I think we need to think about how we make this work critical to the homeowner. Here, I really want to focus on the third item here, ensuring real benefits. I think a real challenge for Habitat and for local leaders is to help guarantee real benefits for low-income owners. Education and outreach will be critical for this, but we need to be able to say, what are the real benefits if I'm a low-income homeowner? I've been around the industry long enough to hear and know some of the kind of famous, perils of a lead project that has ended up being energy hogs, or some weatherization initiatives that didn't necessarily create the savings they claim they might, right? So what can we promise? Will our work lower energy bills? Will the home appraise for more? Will the owner feel healthier? I think we all think these things and know these things to be true, but as a group here, we need to prove this out and have real data and have real good narratives around this work. Our team here expects hesitancy. Change is hard in general. And I think with a little truth serum, a lot of people here today would be hesitant to take the gas line out of their home. This list of questions is really good. And I think they need to be answered in real ways. Let's talk about health outcomes. Let's talk about cost savings. Let's talk about long-term utility costs. Let's talk about real, tangible things. You'll notice on this slide, I've listed the gas stove 3 times. That is on purpose. This is, I think, to me, one of the real questions. I have a gas stove. I love it. And I get that question. So far, the industry's response to this has been touting induction stoves as an alternative, which I think is great. I've been to a lot of trade shows and conferences where you'll have a fancy chef giving a demonstration of how great induction stoves are. I've also been told many times that Wolfgang Puck uses induction cooktops in his high-end restaurants. I don't think that is the right track to convince low-income people to take on this kind of work. I think we need to do better than that. I think another barrier is going to be the complexity of what we're trying to do here. Here, I'm going to urge some of our wonderful municipal partners listening today to really think about how you can help providers like Habitat keep these programs simple. I'd say Habitat takes pride in keeping our intake and assessment process really simple. And we want it to be accessible to older clients, right? A lot of our clients are older. We need to consider that. I have a second slide I'm going to skip over, but this is just a reminder. If the process gets too complicated, we've seen real world experience where people will be scared away. We need to consider how many pieces of paper that people need to read and sign. The final step is going to be help us build more partnerships. We have a long-standing partnership with Grid Alternatives. In several cases, after Habitat has done a roof repair, we've referred the client to Grid, and they've been able to install solar panels for the client. This type of partnership is perfect, and we want more of these. I'm going to shout out a local startup I was actually talking to yesterday, Sensible. There's a lot of new technology out in the world around decarb. Sensible has a thermal storage system that we're really interested in. We think it may work well in our repairs program. More partnerships like that.
Oh, sorry, one more minute.
Got it.
Thanks.
I'm almost done, almost done. This is actually my final slide. So with all that said, here's maybe a hypothetical, perfect looking, really simple process for a successful critical home repair that includes decarb. Step 1 is going to be that critical work, ensure the health and safety of the home. We know how to do that at Habitat. Step 2 will be continue energy efficient upgrades to guarantee something, guarantee tangible benefits like lower utility costs. Step 3 will be solar generation and electrical panel upgrade. They often go together. This again will lock in real tangible benefits and resiliency. And step 4 will be complete the real final electrification work that swaps out appliances and systems, right? That's complicated, but it's doable. And at the end, we call PG&E and have them cap the gas line in the street. You know. Now, with that, I say thank you. I've covered a lot. I love talking housing with everybody. So I'd be happy to talk more about our program, what we do at Habitat. And here is also a direct contact to our repairs hotline. So thank you so much.